Hi everybody, I wanted to share this video with you. It is a couple of months old, so sorry it's sort of old news at this point, but I'm using the bloom recipe, and at the time that I painted this, I had seen, I think it was Erica Hughes did a really beautiful swipe, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try that with just a little bit of purple because I had some purple I needed to use. And it started off as a brilliant idea, and when I spun it, it just really did not go the way I wanted it to. But I always try to share things with you guys anyway, so even though I feel like this was kind of a flop, my husband said not to scrape it, so I didn't. So we got our pillow paint down. I put some bright iridescent gold by Glidden down. That color I just laid down there looks like blue violet from Amsterdam. And I had just gotten my spinner within, a week or so of doing this video, and I wanted to spin everything. And I think that I should have tilted and not spun this. So that was a lesson learned for me. That I just put down there is Vavoom Red by Colourarte. And if I recall correctly, this is a 10 by 10 level 1 canvas. That color is Firefly by Colourarte. And I believe I'm going to use a white cell activator. So again, if you haven't taken Shelley's class, the ingredients are in the description box. I still very much recommend that you take the class. Like I've said in previous videos, I still grew tremendously from taking the class. Now what you can't see is I'm putting my cell activator on a little paint card. And I feel like I have better control over it that way. So I'm going to put it on there first and then swipe from there. I feel like it also gives you a little bit more time, because sometimes if you put it down on the canvas, it starts to kind of sink in before you get ready to swipe, and then may not be quite as effective. Now, a lot of the primary elements pigment colors are a little bit translucent in nature, so when you swipe them across like a tube paint, like in this case, I am swiping it across the golden gold and the the blue violet purple. It just has such a beautifully rich color. And I think this piece would have turned out really, really nicely if I had not spun it, if I had just tilted it, because all the negative space that you see in between these lines became sort of exacerbated by spinning it, whereas it would have worked pretty well if I had stretched it. So this was just kind of a lesson learned for me. I also think I would have had a little bit better result if I had swiped from the middle instead of from the top. But that's not what I did. So it turned out kind of funky. I did finish it with resin. It is still available for purchase. But here's where the chaos begins. You can see I'm trying to kind of close those gaps, because I'm realizing at this point that I'm going to end up stretching it almost completely off the canvas. So I was like, maybe if I spin it before I stretch it some more, it'll work. But what's really sad is that beautiful Vavoom Red, almost all of it ends up being stretched off. And I guess if you didn't know that I wasn't trying to do this, it could be a pretty painting. And I think it is pretty in its own way. My husband said, it's pretty. Sorry about my head. Trying to get rid of a blobby or something there. He said, it's pretty, leave it alone. And I was like, it's not supposed to look like this. But he saves me from scraping things an awful lot when I would be very tempted to just scrape it. So if you saw not the most recent clock round video, but the one before that, where it was supposed to be purple and it was sort of fuchsia, this is the painting that client that asked us to make the clock liked. He liked this painting. He said, I like this, just more purple. And I was like, okay. So when I was picking colors for that painting, I rewatched this video. Even though I thought this was sort of an epic fail, he really liked it. And that's sort of the colors he honed in on. So I rewatched this video before I painted that clock to try to remember what I did. So even though it didn't turn out how I intended, I still think it's beautiful in its own way. And, you know, we all know I was going for something very different there. But I don't know that anybody else would have known that. Sorry about my big head. Anyway, if you haven't taken Shelley's class, I have a 15% off code in the description box below. I can tell you, I learned the bloom recipe and the technique before I took her class. And I still feel like I improved way more after I took it for several reasons. For one, of course, it's awesome to see her teach what she created. But for two, you learn a ton from other students who have taken the class, who share tips with you and ingredients that they find that work, so many things. And so I think you learn just as much from other people that are other students of the class. And so if you're on the fence about it, I would say go for it. It won't be a waste of time, I promise. Anyway, here's the resin results. Still pretty. Not what I had in mind, but I appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.